So please give a long round of applause for Vanessa Birch.
Thank you. So today is a very important day. 5 years ago today, on the 15th of January 2014, I received an email that would forever change my life. And it read, "Dear Vanessa and Tim," Tim was my husband at the time, "Dear Vanessa and Tim, I'm so pleased to allocate you a little boy named Thomas. He is 2.5 months old and he weighs 3.9 kilos. He was very, very preemie at birth, but he's growing and thriving, and he's your son if you accept this allocation." And my heart burst. I was absolutely over the moon. This was my moment from years and years and years ago when I was a tender age of about 8. I remember sitting at the dining table with my parents and my father discussing the idea of adopting. At the time we were living in Beijing and my father was a diplomat, and this was a reality that we wanted to pursue. So I knew that if the time ever came for me to become a parent, I would love that through adoption. And this was our moment. But unfortunately, my husband was traveling at the time and I couldn't get in touch with him. And I was desperate to speak to someone, and I couldn't speak to anyone else because he needed to be the first person to know. So I decided to pick up my shoes and I went for a massive run. And I had all this energy burning and I was so excited, and I was full of anticipation and joy and excitement and love and equal amounts of fear. And then I had this moment that really just grounded me, and it stopped me to my core, and it just comforted me. And it was a memory that I had not thought of in over 20 years. And it was a memory of my dad making my sister and I laugh, belly ache laugh, till our cheeks hurt when he was doing impersonations of Daffy Duck. And he was awesome at it. And this memory flooded back, and I hadn't thought of it in a long time because when we were living in China, my father tragically passed away. And I knew who to speak to. I knew in that moment who I needed to talk to, because I've spoken to him intimately throughout my life. And so I said to my dad, "I need you to go to our son, and I need you to watch him and protect him and look after him until he is ours." And I was very, very specific with this intention. I said, "You need to identify him with a duck, and that way I know that you've been with him." So a couple of weeks later, we arrived. We were living in Singapore, and we flew to Ethiopia. And it's a gorgeous sort of spring day in Addis Ababa, and the sky is a brilliant blue, and there's a crisp air that's surrounding us, and chimney smoke is permeating through the air. And we're walking into the orphanage, which is a house, and right at the back of the house, I can see our son just rousing from his morning sleep. And his eyes are slowly opening, and all I can do is walk with literally my heart in my mouth, exploding with love towards my boy. And I pick him up and I look at him directly in the face, and I'm kissing his cheeks and his forehead, and I whisper, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And then I hand him to Tim, and I finally take a look at him, and he's just so tiny. He truly is the size of a newborn baby. He'd just cracked 4 kilos. And after a lot of time, we asked with permission to the carers, "Would you mind if we take him outside? I just want to look at him in the natural light." And they agreed, but we put a little blanket around him. And as we walk outside, I'm finally sitting down and I unwrap this blanket that's been wrapped around him, and he's in this vibrant pink onesie with a massive daisy duck. And the tears that were already in my eyes continued to flow because I knew exactly what this meant. And for the next 8 days that we were in this orphanage, literally from sundown to sunrise to sundown, there was no other duck. Not on bed linen, not on any of the clothes that were around, or any of the toys that the kids got to play with. So, flash forward, 1 year later, we receive another email about us being matched with our gorgeous little girl, Amanda. And this is a very unusual Ethiopian name, but it was a name that was given to my sister by my father close to 40 years ago. So I felt that the stars were aligning, and again, this was meant to be. So we arrive again back in Addis, this time in tow with our very grumpy, very jet-lagged little boy and grandparents, and we're hugging and catching up with the carers that we've stayed in touch with all this time. And finally, we get to see our little girl, and she's just looking up from a little bouncer, and she is joy personified. and she still is to this day. And I look at her and my heart is in my mouth, and I just think, again, she is my moon to my stars, which is my boy. And again, I'm finally taking a moment just to relax, just to sit down after all the commotion and everything is happening around us. And I'm watching Tim as he's feeding her a bottle, and I'm looking above all the cots that are in her room, and every cot had an animal above it. And there's a chicken and a monkey, and right above our little girl's cot is a yellow duck. And there were no other ducks for the entire time that we were there on bed linen, on clothes, or in toys that they played with. And I share this story because I believe that when you have a very clear intent, you can put it out to the universe, and God or Allah or even the love of a father can come in and intervene and be a part of your story and your journey. Thank you.